This episode of Skirmish Supremacy is brought to you by Reformation Brewery, the official beer of your game night.
All right. Well, I mean, Tim's only had it recording for like 10 minutes now, but I guess we will get into it. Tim, were you doing the intro or was I?
You're going to do the intro on this one.
All right. Damn it.
As you just open up a surge or a beer.
It's neither one actually. It's just a mellow yellow. I needed to wake me up. So it's Machado, right?
Yes.
All right. I if you've listened to any of the episodes, I fuck names up all the time. 2 years, I still can't say Corkscrew's name right over there.
It's whatever. I don't even say it right half the
time. All right. Good evening, folks. Tonight we are joined by Danny Machado of Smart Iguana Games, and he's got his game Gravity Wars that he's reached out to us to come onto the podcast to talk about. So, welcome, Danny.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And we also have Tim on the show because I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I put the show together and whatnot, but honestly, I don't even know why I'm here half the time. It's fine.
to look pretty.
Yeah, on a podcast. So I got a face for radio apparently.
Yes. All right. So, how's everyone doing?
I'm doing pretty great.
Yeah, everything's going great over here so far.
Awesome. I'm tired, but. I did want to say, since we missed putting out this week's episode, we had a snafu with scheduling. Tim and I ended up both having something come up when we were supposed to record last week. So to our listeners, I did want to say sorry that we didn't get an episode out this week, and hopefully this episode helps make up for it.
Yes, real life sometimes gets in the way, folks.
Unfortunately.
Understandable.
All right, Danny. So, Gravity Wars. Tell us about it.
Well, the game Gravity Warfare. I don't mean to step in there, but it's Gravity Warfare.
Gravity Warfare. You know what? See, I told you I was going to screw something up. Got the name right, so I had to screw the name of the game up.
It's all right. No, Gravity Warfare is a game that my dad invented when we were young. He actually came up with the idea of the game in a dream, he says. And he's a master carpenter, so he made it out of wood and MDF, just pretty small. And we played it when we were young with like little rocks and pieces on top. If you guys haven't seen the game, hopefully there'll be a picture somewhere. On like a thumbnail?
Yeah, there'll be like a thumbnail or something like that. Yeah, there'll be some sort of picture.
Okay, so the game is a balancing platform that it's held on this support base by a point. It's a little tip, and it actually never falls. If you treat it with care and you play like a regular person and then just don't smack it, it'll actually stay balanced throughout all your games. And the pieces that you put on top of it, you compete with other players to be the first one to get rid of all your pieces. Once you do that, you win the match. You get some points, and you start a new match. And if you make the pieces fall because you put too much on one side or the other, you lose and other people win.
All right. And just for a visual, for those who haven't seen any picture or anything that we associate with it, the gaming area that you're playing is actually a crescent, or kind of.
We were going for like a spaceship kind of shape, but most people relate it to that bird from like the 70s where you hold the beak and you can balance and it doesn't fall off your finger. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Okay. I had to think about it for a second, and yeah, I've seen it before where it kind of like, I don't know why I'm doing hand gestures. This is a podcast, but where you put the beak on your finger and the bird just kind of floats out there. So if you,
Exactly, yeah.
as long as you don't do anything crazy, that bird will stay balanced on your finger.
Yeah, that's what people relate the game to, and the balancing mechanic is pretty similar, but we have it to another level where it does not fall, and you can shift the weight around to make the platform balance perfectly.
Okay, so how many players is it?
The game is played from 2 to 6 players. It's you can do one if you want to play one. You know, get some training, quote unquote. Because the game is pretty challenging. You have a lot of challenge cards that you give to other players, and you force other players to play their turn in a certain way. Like you have a hand of challenge cards, and you tell somebody to play while the board is spinning, or you throw another card and they have to play two at the same time, which creates a lot of weight on one side, and then you force them to try to make them trip up on their turn. And the locations on the platform where you play, if you play often, you can figure out exactly where you can play your pieces so that you pretty much win every time.
All right. So how do you move your pieces around? You talked about challenge cards.
Okay. So I'll start from the beginning. You set up the platform, and again, you find the precise point to balance the platform correctly. And everybody's dealt, or everybody chooses a color set of pieces. There will be pieces on the game that are the tanks, the fighters, and the spaceships. There are different shapes and weights, and each player gets 6 pieces, 2 of each of those, and they all receive a player card, which has an ability, and after that, they get dealt a hand of cards. Then they will take turns rolling the dice. That's what determines how what they're going to play on their turn. So one die tells you which piece you're going to play for that turn, and the other die is going to tell you on which location on the platform you're going to play. The platform has color-coded areas to where you roll one of the dice and tells you which location they're color-coded, and you have to play your piece or the piece that you rolled on that location that you rolled. So you're limited by that chance of the dice. And then other players now have the opportunity to give you challenges to make your turn a lot harder.
Okay, so you roll the dice. The dice will determine what piece you play, or what type of piece you play, and the location that you have to play it on.
Correct.
Okay. And then the challenge cards that they have will also it might be where it's like, oh, hey, you have to play another piece in a location that's either similar or very close to it. So it could really end up end up going against you.
Correct. I've had a lot of people, for example, went to Gen Con, and at Gen Con, it was the event was a success. Like everybody was loving the game. We had some people, much like at Dice Tower, requesting us to open up other tables and have several tables going on for people to play, which was pretty exciting. But that's the convention that we had the most aggressive cutthroat players in history of us playtesting it. People were just wanting to get people out of the game so fast, or try to get them to lose immediately on the first round. It gets pretty intense. So, for example, I would roll the dice, and I'll have to play the tank, which is one of the heavier pieces, and I have to play it on the turrets, which are locations on the platform. And other players have the chance to give me one of their challenge cards in their hand. So there are several. So one person can tell me to do it while spinning. So that means I have to spin the board and play my turn while spinning. Another one is parrot or totem, where you have to place two pieces together connected, because the pieces are designed to be connected, and you have to play two at the same time on a location. Or with one of the popular ones is with chopsticks. So we have a set of chopsticks included in the game, and players have to play the piece on the platform. So in a game of let's say 4 players, and it's my turn, I have the opportunity, or I have the chance of getting 3 challenges on the same turn. So I would have to complete my turn with all the challenges combined in my turn. So potentially I could have to spin it and play my chopsticks and then play it on top of another one. And I have to do all those to be able to get points for that turn.
Okay. So what would happen if you fail any of those?
There are several things depending on the situation. If you place your piece on the incorrect location because the spinning was too much and you couldn't place it correctly on the location, you take your piece back and you lose a turn and you get a negative point. Okay. If you play and you actually make the pieces fall from the platform, you lose the round or the match, and then you start over. You deal new cards to people. It was successful. Like, people were successful at making you lose that round. So you would get some negative points. Other players get positive points depending on how many pieces they have left in front of them. And you start a new match. Get some new cards, and you start over.
Okay, so there's definitely there's a lot of strategy involved to it, but it's also very much a hand-eye coordination dexterity game as well. Because
it is a dexterity.
If you go into this meat-fisted, I'm assuming, because just looking at the design and some of the mechanics you were talking about, that it would be very easy for you to just tip this thing over and cause pieces to just go everywhere at any given time.
Yes. If you don't have eye-hand coordination or good eye-hand coordination, you would have to play a few rounds for you to get used to how to play, because you have to be pretty precise in the piece location.
Well, sounds like I'm out of this
piece
game.
Placement.
Yeah.
That's it, folks. We're done. I can't play the game. I don't have any hand-eye coordination. We're done with the podcast for the night.
Nice. So with that, I know that you guys are going to be going to Kickstarter with this soon. You have gone to a couple of conventions with this. What is the overall reaction to the game been?
It's been amazing. We have been pretty surprised and excited about the reaction. At the first playtest that we did, because we're in South Carolina, and before we went to the conventions, we actually took it to a lot of local places here and play tested it. That's where we got a lot of got rid of most of the kinks and made the game what it is right now, which is it's really good. At the last convention, where we did the last final touches from the previous convention, which was DragonCon, everybody loved the game. We polished it. We got rid of some of those little things that we caught on other conventions, and people were just really liking the game.
Excellent. So it's gone through a few iterations and rules changes and little tweaks here and there to get it to where it's at.
Through a lot of that.
Yeah,
a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a couple pictures online about how big is this crescent-shaped piece that balances on the peg. It looks like it's about what, like 12 inches by 12 inches,
like
roughly.
A foot. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So a foot tall.
Wow. Okay. So this is a pretty. I mean, I'm looking at the picture and it looks pretty sizable for when most people think of like a 12-inch by 12-inch board game, they don't think that it's a lot there. But when you're sticking it on a peg that keeps it a foot above the table, suddenly that changes the whole dynamic of what people are expecting to see.
Yeah, I mean,
Awesome.
The size hasn't been talked about much. People just accepted the way we presented to them. Mm-hmm. But the way, the effect that the board has and the movement of the board has with people Everybody's amazed when we start, because we like to set it up for people in front of them. Uh, uh, Other than just having it set up and people just sit down and play, we like to put it like in the box and then show people, well, this is how it's put together, and then set it up. And then once we place the board on the support and we tilt it all the way to the maximum, just let it go or spin it and it doesn't fall, people are just amazed at how it's working and that it doesn't fall.
So you've already got your hook right there. It's just like we have a suspended point.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody says the same thing, especially at Dice Tower. It was our first convention other than Impex. We actually went to Impex to show the invention. We filed the patent for the mechanism that makes the board balance like that and not fall. But that was just for the invention part. We brought the game still, but it wasn't for the game necessarily. The Dice Tower was the first convention we went to for the board game, and it was incredible seeing people just gathering around the table and watching people play, because just the board moving and so what is that? And then people are, it was pretty good, pretty good feeling to have. Yeah, I don't mean to.
No, it's totally understandable. Actually, I was just looking at your gallery of pictures, and I remembered seeing it also on your Facebook page. But building a much larger scale version than just the tabletop version.
We did. It was an idea that I don't remember who mentioned it, but I think it was after Gen Con where we saw a lot of people like the Catan guys setting up a giant floor mat where people could play the Catan game. I was like, you know what, we should do that. It would at least get people's attention and get people to see the game and asking questions about the name at least. But it was a total hit. We made a prototype of a jumbo version, and we took it to Dragon Con, and people could not stop playing. Those people just waited to play. People just waited to play, and I just wanted to get people. I didn't want to just have people play really quick and get out, because that's not what we do. So I was trying to getting people the feel for how it plays, how you win, and then just kind of rotating through people every 10-ish minutes. That's how long it took to go for a round of the game in the giant version. And people were pretty happy about it. I mean, it was a hit. People really liked the jumbo version.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it at Dragon Con. Where were you guys located when you were doing that?
We were right in front of the library, the game library. It was the America Smart building.
Okay.
The board game area.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there every day and set up at the same table. Luckily, I was there really early. When there was nobody there, I was there setting up. Yeah.
Time to ninja in right here. I don't know what you're talking about. This is my spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely got people.
So you guys were also. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that definitely got people's attention, the jumbo version, and then we would play, and then, oh, you know what? This is just like a fun thing we did for the conventions. We actually have the board game, and people were like, oh, really? You have the board game? So this is the real one, and then they were, didn't want to play that one as well. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was a good decision on our part to venture out into making that jumbo version.
And so now you actually have made all of your prototypes yourselves.
Yes, we have. At the beginning, we were looking for those companies that help you do the prototypes. A lot of people, or they were out of our reach financially. They were pretty expensive to do, at least to the level that we wanted the game to be. A lot of prototype companies, they use standard pieces and things like that, which work with a lot of games. But
Right.
we needed some specific design pieces, and they couldn't do that. So we actually purchased our own 3D printers and we print our own pieces. We print our own components. We made our own boxes, the insert, everything. Everything is made by us. We hand cut all the cards. It's a chore, but it's definitely worth it. We can get the level of quality that we want people to see when we play test the game. We don't want to be those guys that just show up with like a cardboard thing and then handwritten stuff to get people's idea. I want to get the visual parts, the most that we can do ourselves out of the way. I want to take that factor out that, oh, you know what, the artist is. We did some decent art for the early prototypes, and we started to increase the quality and develop the art more, but we already had a showable prototype that we can take to conventions, and people were like, okay, this looks like a real game, let's play it. Don't worry about that. It's almost not a prototype.
Right, and that's definitely good point to get to. So with all of that, you're taking it to Kickstarter soon. What are you guys looking to do? Are you gonna have it from then professionally manufactured somewhere, or are you looking to get the equipment to continue manufacturing it yourself?
No, we will definitely be looking for manufacturing companies for the production of 2,500, 5,000 units. We cannot handle that amount, and we just wanted to get experience on how to make the prototype, because we play board games all our lives. Me and my brothers and sisters, we play since we were kids, and I like to play board games. We wanted to get the experience on what the process is in making a board game, other than just looking up on online. We wanted to see exactly how much effort it took and what was involved in making the prototype, and then talking to the manufacturers and being able to understand the things that they're saying more when they're saying, whatever 4C color or 2mm chipboard.
That's definitely a good place to be coming from, having that experience and knowledge. So it's like, you can help make sure that you get the best quality product.
Right.
So when are you planning? I know you said, Kickstarter soon, but when is soon for the Kickstarter? Have you set a date, or?
Well, we have not set an official date yet. We've been really working on getting it. Excuse me. We've been working really hard on getting it as soon as possible, but we have the campaign pretty much ready. The thing is, we want to get a higher number of subscribers and followers on Facebook, and more people getting to know our name. That way, we reduce the number of days or even hours where the campaign will be funded. We want to be really successful, and to do that, we just need to make sure that people know who we are, know about our game, at least heard of the name, and look us up to be able to, to get people to be like, okay, there's a lot of people backing this campaign. Let's, it sounds like it's legit, and oh look, they're funded, so let's get a copy for ourselves.
Right. Definitely a good strategy to go with there.
Yeah, that's always the first hurdle that new companies have to face, is that nobody has confidence until it funds. But you need those people to actually jump in and fund, or and drop money on it to fund in order for that to happen. So it's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah. Yep. And then then it can also be that people get scared if it's funding too much too.
Well, I mean, it'll be a happy scare. That's what I would say.
Well, yeah. And I mean, outside, the backers, or potential backers, they can be like, oh no, it's going to fail because it made money. Unfortunately,
I mean, I don't see it. I don't see it that way. If we're definitely prepared, we have the team and the knowledge, and if at all possible, we have the resources to find the people that would help us get through whatever obstacle we get in the Kickstarter. We don't believe my fear is not being able to reach as many people as I'm hoping. Everybody that has played the game has really loved it, and I think that if people just knew about the game, they would at least want to try it or share with somebody that knows that they will probably love this game. I might get it for them or something like that. We're not afraid of being overfunded because again we have the resources and the people. We're not. It's not just me. We have a team already of people, and if anything, there's companies out there that are there to help you be successful in a Kickstarter campaign, either during, before, or after your campaign.
All right, so you've already lined most of that up then. So if for some reason you guys turn around and do this Kickstarter and like you blow it out of the water, like far more than you ever thought was possible.
Hopefully.
You've got something in place. Well, yeah, hopefully, yeah. Nothing's ever 100%, but you've got something in place to really help move that forward.
Correct. Well, we have several quotes from different manufacturers, and they're all viable. In any case, that most of the companies right now that can produce anywhere from 30,000 to 50,000 units a month. Mm-hmm. So I don't see producing being an issue for any manufacturer. If we get the funding, you will get the game.
Perfect.
It's just how many games we're gonna tell them to make. That's it. We have customs people. We have fulfillment houses, quotes for them as well. So we have resources and the people to call to be able to make those changes. Say, hey, we're not doing 2,500 anymore. We're doing 7,000. So just make the changes and make it happen.
All right, and have you, with all your preparations, I know one of the big things is also being worldwide shipping friendly. Have you gotten that worked out? Is it going to be able to be worldwide friendly?
Right now, we're working on which specific countries we will not be able to deliver, but it's looking very favorable to being worldwide shipping. The fulfillment houses that we have, they do have partnerships with other fulfillment houses around the globe, and that wouldn't be an issue. They are hesitant to give me a specific price for the game because we don't have the sample from the manufacturer yet. We don't have the weight. So once we get that sample and the precise weight that it will be, we'll have cost to the cent of shipping to anywhere that we can ship using our fulfillment houses.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay.
So that leads me to ask a couple questions about your journey in like finding the right the right manufacturing companies and whatnot. Because I know you said that you and your father actually machined the first set of this out of MDF and everything else. So like, obviously this is not a typical board game. It's not just slap down some cardboard pieces, have some cards and some playing chips and you're good. Like there's a lot of math and science that goes into this whole thing. So there's like, to me, from a manufacturing standpoint, that would be the scariest thing, is finding a company that like can really deliver what the game should be and not just, I don't want to say lie to you, because that's not the case, but there's so many companies out there that are like, oh, just regular press board, cardboard, just punch this stuff out. You got some tokens, you got some cards, and you're good. Right. Where you're coming in and saying, yeah, I've got this thing that sits a foot off the ground. It's about a foot circle. Looks like a giant croissant with some planets on it. And by the way, these are all have to have some just specific weight that,
right.
So these can't just have like air bubbles and whatnot in it. These all have to weigh a certain amount. So that to me, just from the logistics standpoint, would be probably the scariest proponent of any of this.
Right, and it was, it is, and it was. When we were starting to develop the game, because my dad actually, we played it when he made it was 15 years ago, and he actually put it away somewhere, and now not too long ago he brought it back to the house. I was like, hey, I remember that, and then we started playing, and I suggested, why don't we make it an actual game, because it was pretty small, it's for children, and after months and months, so long of developing the game, we came up with what it is right now. The most challenging part was exactly what you're talking about. The way that it used to be was that it was just sitting on that point, and once it goes over a certain angle, it would just fall over or tip over. And it took a long time of researching and just thinking outside the box to see how we fix that issue. And that's where the patent that we filed comes into play. My dad, again, I don't know if it was a dream or something, but he just woke up and I was like, hey, I'm going to try this real quick with some magnets. And he made the tip movable. And that's what we filed, because nobody's ever done that before. And that fixed the entire issue. The board doesn't fall anymore. And the reason manufacturers are so comfortable with making the game, or at least after we explain what it is and then show them videos and how it works and how it is set up to where it doesn't matter those little tiny defects in manufacturing, because it was an issue. The board, the way it works is if you put even half a gram of weight on either side of the wings of the ship or the platform, it'll tip. Nothing. Even the slightest difference in plastic or wood or whatever it is that the fabric, the platform, whatever it is that you're making it out of, the slightest difference in weight will make it to shift toward that side or the other side. And the invention that we have is that you can shift that pivot point or that balancing point to where you can always achieve. Doesn't matter if it's too heavy on this side, you can just move it over and then find the perfect balance for that platform. So you can pretty much balance anything. We, off topic, when we went to Impact that I mentioned before, that was for that invention, we actually made it so that instead of balancing a platform, we were balancing a bottle of wine. So we had a bottle of wine set up to where you can just spin it and move it around, and the bottle of wine would just maneuver around and around and not fall.
Well,
that's
that
crazy.
Sounds impressive.
So that's why the logistics and the manufacturers are like, oh, I see how it works. So it doesn't have to be perfect. That was the issue before, that it had to be so accurate, the plastic injection or the wood or whatever, that cannot miss by nothing. And they were hesitant to work on that. So we developed that system, and it's working great.
Awesome.
Right. So a lot of it comes down to the point and the counterweight that sits on top and whatever attaches to that counterweight, and allowing you to shift everything on that. Okay. So yeah, I could see where that definitely helps alleviate things as far as that goes. Because I was going to say, if the platform has to be precise and the counterweight has to be precise and that needle point has to be precise, there's an awful lot of stuff in there for manufacturers to screw up when they're running 1,000 of them, you know?
Right.
So that was the part where I'm like, wow, this sounds daunting to say the least.
No, the pieces are fairly simple. If you ever get a chance to see them this podcast will be on the Kickstarter, so hopefully just click up there and watch the video. But the pieces are really simple, and is not as complicated as many would think. Oh, how is that working? A lot of people think it's holding on top with a magnet, which is the tip that is touching the board, or the tip that is connected to the support base is connected to the board with a magnet, but they're not held together by a magnet. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it does.
When I pick it up over the support, and people are like, "Oh, that's not connected," and I just lay it back down and tilt it and spin it. They're like, how is that not falling? And that's what gets people going and interested in the game.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's where science talks start happening. You're like, hey, do you want to play this game? They're like, that's not a game.
You're trying to teach me something.
Another side of the development of the game, which again took a while as well, was finding the correct materials to use for the platform. Because if you, once you have the game in front of you, or if you play it at any of the conventions, you notice that we found the right materials to get the lean of the platform as close to 45 as we could. So if you tilt the platform 45 or lower, the pieces will actually just stay on the platform a little longer, and then they will fall. Otherwise, when we were trying it the first time, they would just slide off. As soon as you put a little tilt in plastic to plastic, they just slide off. So it was a long road from having that issue where pieces just kept falling off at the slightest tilt of the platform. Once we had the platform working, to getting to where the platform is so tilted and people are like, oh my god, how is that not falling yet? And then they just keep playing, and it gets really intense.
I could see that. So one of the things that I was just noticing in here that you didn't, I don't remember you mentioning, is that you actually pick a it's a race card, or it's a commander's card.
Right, it's a alien leader card. You are the leader of an alien race with a certain ability that you can use at any time during the game to your favor or to other players' misfortune to try to make them lose. And so yeah, that's the alien leaderboard or leader card.
Okay. And then there's also a Guardian card.
There is the most popular card. Well, on top of all the challenges that you have, the Guardian is one that allows you to cancel out horrible challenges that people are giving you. You have one shot, if you have that card still, you have one shot to go through your turn, without making doing all the challenges that people are forcing you to do. For example, because in a game of 6, you can get up to 5 challenges, and you have to do all of that to make it through your turn, that turn. So you can potentially have to do so many things to go through your turn just to get rid of 1 or 2 pieces. And sometimes the board is so tilted that you get a location on the board that is just you're gonna lose. You definitely, it doesn't matter if people actually put more challenges on you. You were gonna lose anyway, so they were just trying to make sure you lose. So they added all this stuff on top of it.
Right.
And you have the one shot to cancel everything. So you use your Guardian, and it cancels all the cards that you have in front of you, and you can play wherever you want. So you're safe for that one round. But next round, you wasted it. So if whatever you get, you're gonna have to do it.
Right,
Okay.
and that makes sense. So I guess that was one of my other questions too. So like when you get into those giant multiplayer games, there's nothing stopping people from just throwing everything at you. So if you're clearly winning, you have a target on your back. Like they're gonna throw as many challenges at you as possible to get you to screw up.
That happens. That happens. People, well, when I play games, people always target me because I'm the designer and they want to make me lose. But yeah, one of the things that keeping from people getting so aggressive in that manner is that at the beginning of the game, you're going to get dealt a hand of cards, and you don't draw any more cards. So you only have those 5 cards to play for the whole game, or for that round. For that match that you're playing, you have 5 cards, and if you use one after the other and you run out, then you don't have any more challenges that you can issue to other players. You ran out, and You can't influence other players. So it's strategic in the sense that you only have that hand of cards, and you have to use them at the right time to make sure that its effect it's as negative as possible on other players.
Right. So, how many rounds does a game typically run for?
It depends on how competitive people are. I've seen games that they finish playing. There's a winner where somebody actually gets rid of all their pieces and gets all the points, pretty much. But normally, the game would go about 3 or 4 rounds of play before the board starts getting really dicey, and that's when people say, "Oh, I'm gonna get you with this one," and then they force somebody to lose.
And I think you said it earlier, but each player can only play one challenge card against a person on that person's turn, right?
Correct. So if it's my turn and I'm playing with you guys, I would only get 2 challenges for my turn. So one for you and one from Nick. I would get 2 challenges.
Okay, cool. So you can't just throw all 5 at somebody at once and just be like, "Yep, deal with that."
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's only one per player per turn.
Okay. So this sounds like a very, very sophisticated game, like in the design and everything else. So this to me sounds very much in its own way like a scientific educational game.
Well, hopefully it teaches a lot of people about I'll say this. At the beginning of the designing of the game, we were trying to go toward the scientific-y theme for the game. So we wanted to put like formulas on the instruction, like as a background thing, and then formulas on the board itself. That real formulas, or physics and gravity and mass, all that stuff. But that died off.
Yeah, you're like, we're making a game here. No one wants to learn anything.
Nobody wants to learn anything. So we got rid of that idea. But definitely, it was a learning experience for all of us. Learning how, because the pieces are not heavy at all. They're really light, and just that one piece will make the board just go completely off. And it was learning experience for all of us, and we're glad to have made it. I'm glad to have made this game for everybody to enjoy, because we played it when we were kids. And I'll tell you, we played the old version. We played the first generation of the game.
We were using rocks and wood. We got splinters playing the game.
We were using wood and coins and rocks.
So I got to ask this, because I'm sure somebody who's listening to this is going to have this epiphany, and I'm going to use heavy quotes on epiphany with this. So this is very much like a highbrow, like you said, like kind of at first you were marketing it as a scientific game, because there's a lot of science that goes into this game, a lot of math, and a lot more than I could comprehend. Like I would screw this up quicker than anybody else. But on the opposite end of that spectrum, this is still a balance and dexterity game. So how many people have turned this into a drinking game?
Almost everybody that plays it.
Okay, so it has been done. I'm not crazy.
An awesome drinking game, but we're starting a company here, and we don't. Even though we made the jumbo version, and it's intended for like barbecue play, like the yard darts and whatnot, where you play with your friends at a barbecue, or hopefully it gets popular enough to where like a cornhole at a bar or somewhere. People really enjoyed it and said, well, we can make this, make some rules. Well, I mean, the rules that you set at your house, those are your rules. But we're trying to stay away from, I guess, supporting or like drinking and stuff like that.
Yeah. You're neither confirming nor denying it. I got you.
Exactly. I'm not. That's what I'm saying.
We can appreciate that.
But yeah, there's plenty of things that you can do to play and make it a drinking game.
Yeah, and I could just imagine that after a while that board starts tipping quite fast. But so obviously,
I can imagine.
I mean, I totally even forgot about the jumbo, and now he's like, yeah, and especially when you have the jumbo game, which is involved in there, and alcohol, even though we're not condoning yeah. So is the jumbo game going to be available with the Kickstarter as well as an option?
We're actually in the works with that option. Get all because we're starting with the jumbo, although we made a prototype, and the prototype is basically the same game but just bigger.
Right.
So it wasn't too hard making it, with the experience that my dad has, especially with woodworking. Everything's made out of wood, so it came out looking really great. We still want to figure out what the logistics are with making the jumbo, how expensive it's going to be, and whether we can implement it in the Kickstarter campaign. Hopefully it is right here in this price level, but we don't know yet. That's a goal that we're aiming for at the moment.
Yeah, I think just from everything you were talking about, I think that would be an absolutely amazing goal where, you get the package deal of like, this is the table version and then this is the backyard version or the deck version, something to where, the deck version, or, if you want to call it the big version, might have different artwork to it, but it's still the same game.
Right. One of the challenges with the jumbo was the rules. So we don't have cards for the jumbo. There's no cards because we intended to be a barbecue game or outside game. You can't have cards and then having a drink or a soda, let's say a soda in your hand. And the cards will get destroyed in a day. And so we made the game into rolling dice. I call them rolling dice, but they're drums. They're spinning. I don't know why I'm doing hand motions, but they spin on this. They spin on this thing, and you actually roll for a challenge, you roll for a location, and you roll for your piece on this static board that tells you where you're going. It's like a arrow pointing at what you're gonna do. So there's no dice that you throw on the floor or anything, and there are no cards. The cards are in another die, quote unquote.
Okay,
gotcha.
That's cool. I mean, I like that option. To expand the play without like you said, coming up with cards that can get destroyed or just lost, or the wind picks up and blows them away.
Well, right, we intended the backyard game to be more just more I don't want to say more fun, but less complex as the board game. The board game definitely has a lot of strategy involved, and it's a lot more complex than the jumbo. The jumbo is very easy to set up, and it's a lot easier to follow, where people don't have to worry too much about the tactics or the strategy of the game. They just roll the things and you put a piece on the board. That's it.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, if you do work out some of the logistics for the jumbo, and you don't want to advocate certain things or whatever, if you let Tim and I borrow the jumbo prototype for the weekend, I am sure we can produce enough videos of all the options that you don't have to actually reference that you can use it for that. Just kind of point that, hey, if you look over here, there's videos of gameplay.
All right, there's some people that make some stuff up. I don't know if it's fun, but check it out. I hear you. Well, another section of the or another part of the Kickstarter that I haven't mentioned, the initial idea with the game or with the campaign was to have the commercial version, which is the regular plastic and wooden pieces, the one that is out right now that you can see at the website or our social media. But we actually had the deluxe version where the entire game is made out of wood. So the pieces are not printed, and they're just made out of wood. And the play is the same. You would have some, I guess, less colorful or more classy cards, or for the game, for the deluxe version.
Mm-hmm.
It'll have its wooden box, and it'll be much more sophisticated than the regular mass-produced game. And that would have a limit, of course, for how many we would produce. But again, hopefully it's right here, and it made the cut for the campaign.
That would be cool.
I think the wooden edition would be the one that I would really be interested in, just because at that point, again, you're talking, your game is something that's visually appealing. So you want it to almost be like a coffee table piece is what I'm envisioning it as. Not saying that like the cardboard version with the planets and all that stuff printed on it would not be cool, because it still would be. But, again, the fact that you've been talking about the fact that your dad does a lot with woodworking and whatnot, like that to me sounds like the version that I would want. That handmade, comes in a wooden box, really nice version, which would probably cost about $400. But the point of it is that's the version I would want.
Well, and so I had that there was that Jumanji board that the guy hand carved and all that, and thinking about all the planets that are on the current one and all that, if someone did kind of hand carve that and then sealed it over, that all the ideas.
Hopefully,
And the
you
backyard
guys
version.
become backers, and get that game, because that if we make, which we're really positive that we will, make the deluxe wooden version, it'll be made by us. It won't be produced anywhere else. It'll be made by us.
Right.
And that's
I think that also speaks volumes too, because that's at that point that is a labor of love. There is no manufacturer doing it where they're just kicking out 2,000, 5,000, whatever it might be. It's like it's you and your dad in a garage, sweating your ass off, going, "Why did we do this again?"
I was just about to say it depends on how many there is. It's a labor of love for like the first like 5, and then it's like, why did we say this many?
Well, we're still working on the exact numbers of everything that we will, like the early backers and the super early backers, as well as some of the exclusive components that will be a certain limited number of. But it would be we already figured out a system or a manufacturing process here at my house, in making the most efficient way making those games and making them with great quality.
Awesome.
So where exactly can everybody find everything at? Like Nick and I have mentioned the Facebook page. Where else can they find out more about Smart Iguana Games and Gravity Warfare as a whole?
The best way to get all the information that you need or want to get is go to gravitywarfare.com or smartiguana.com, smartiguanagames.com, I should say. And they both would direct you to our main website, which shows the game. It gives you the link to subscribe, and it describes the game completely. Also, there's about us. You would read more about me, my dad, my mom, and the family, because it is a family project and a family game, to where all of us have acquired some skills, through life, and all of those are needed for the business, and that's how we're making this business or business venture so smooth, because everybody has their own jobs and we get it done correctly. Also, we're on social media. If you look us up, #GravityWarfare, you'll find us. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we're there.
All over the place. So I got to ask this before we wrap up. Obviously, the Kickstarter date, we don't know just yet. Is there any other games that you guys are kind of like early prototyping that you are looking at making game number 2 for the company?
Oh, we have a bunch of them. We have a bunch of games that we've come up through the months of, designing a game. And sometimes you want to take a mental break from from the one game, because that allows you to breathe a little more and then maybe come back with a fresh idea. But we've come up with, I'm gonna say we're at 11 or 12 games that we want to make, and they're pretty unique and original. Some of them have the same mechanic, where it's a balancing platform, but just set up differently and completely different game. But some of them are your more common board and dice rolling games. We want to wait, although I'm really excited about working on the new games and making new prototypes. I actually have 4 Generation 1 prototypes for the next 4 games. And sometimes I want to stop because I want to put the most effort, or 100%, into the Gravity Warfare game and the campaign and everything. And like I said, the campaign is pretty much ready. We're just, the only thing that we're waiting on, and I'll touch on that right now, is the art. We're actually overhauling the entire art of the game. We're making it professionally by illustrators, and we want to make the game as more eye appealing than it already is, because people are really attracted to the platform and the game, the way it just moves, and the game is really appealing to people. And we want to make sure that the art in the box and the art in the cards are as appealing as the game. We want to make sure that people remember the game and say, "Wow, this is pretty great art." What was I saying before the art? I forgot.
You were talking about a couple other games that you have in design. You've got 4 that are kind of Generation 1 right now, but you are
I want to
really focus on getting Gravity Warfare.
Right, want to focus on getting Gravity Warfare out, but I'm really limited on what we can do now, because we're just waiting on the entire batch of new art. That way we can make the new prototypes, and record the videos for the Kickstarter, because we want to put the new art in the videos. Otherwise, we would already launched it with the old art and say we were overhauling the art, but we'd rather wait and show people what the game would actually look like.
Yeah, give a little example of the finished product. Right.
But yeah, we have several games that a lot of them are promising. Some of them are just ideas right now, because I developed a process or a system of screening out these set of questions and things that you go through to make sure that you're making a game that would be fun, entertaining, and then setting up the design phase, development phase, and then the prototype phase, to make sure that you get the most out of what you're thinking. That's what I designed it for. So whenever you have an idea, I'll get on the computer and I start typing up the idea, and then all these questions guide me mentally through the things that I need to think of to be able to make a game that would work and have its balance, and it'll be fun. Some of them haven't made it through, unfortunately, but we have several that are already prototyped. I want to put effort into making those, but right now I'm just trying to get even the slightest improvement will be great for the Gravity Warfare campaign, and because we do need the financial support, I would say. If Gravity Warfare, although we're not afraid that it won't, but anything can happen. I'll stay modest. We're hoping that Gravity Warfare it's a success, and it gives us the financial push that we need to be able to work on these other games and put more time into them. That way we can just bring them out and allow people to experience them.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You always need that one hit in order to make sure that it helps fund the rest, I guess is a good way to put it.
Right. We don't need to hit the millions at all. We just need to just a little financial cushion to be able to work on work full time on the new designs and the new games without having to worry about where our next meal is going to come, because life happens, and if we all had our own 9 to 6 jobs, then we'll be putting only a couple hours of design time into the games, and who knows how long that takes into making a game that works and bringing it out as a company, at least.
Right, and that makes perfect sense. You guys are you're taking a step back. You're doing it the smart way. You're not jumping in over your heads. I think that goes to say a lot that you guys have. Well, I mean, again, you're a gamer. You've been around the Wild West that is the Kickstarter landscape long enough to know like what to do and what not to do, at least from a glancing standpoint. And then now that you're looking into it, you're like, okay, yeah, this works, this doesn't.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely learning, like most people do, going through the campaigns on Kickstarter that have been successful and looking through the ones that haven't been successful and trying to pinpoint the things that made each what they were. Let's look at these two because they didn't fail. Let's look at the art. Let's look at the presentation, the video, the pledge levels, the information that the people were giving about the game, because a lot of people don't give any information or any confidence that the game would be produced or that they have the capability of producing the game. A lot of people just say an idea and then hopefully that people just trust them. It's hard for people to trust on strangers with their hard-earned money. And we're trying to do the most we can to show that we're prepared to do what we need to do, and we're prepared to accomplish the task that we've presented in the Kickstarter campaign, because we're not doing it ourselves. Some people get really caught up in, well, I can do it. I'm going to do it myself. I want to get all the profits, or I got it. Some people may, but I would say that some people that do it and do it successfully, those are the exception and not the rule.
I was going to say, good luck with that one if you think that's
right.
the norm.
Yeah, you need people. You need a team, and then you need to hire professionals to handle everything that you don't know. Because you can try to learn the most you can about the entire process, but you need to focus on what your task is or what your expertise are. Because if you try to master everything, then you'll be just a jack of all trades and a master of none. And then everything you do would be, low. So we do have the people that we need to get this campaign and do what we were set up to do.
Awesome, man. I think we have pretty much covered every single thing we could possibly think of. The only thing at this point that I know is still a little bit up in the air, for obvious reasons, is you guys are still prepping, is the Kickstarter date that you plan on launching. Do you kind of have even an ETA slight time frame that you're kind of hoping to hit? Obviously nothing's set in stone.
Well, I do know that the art should be in our hands by the end of October. So we would cuff up a prototype in no more than a day or two with the fresh art, the fresh cards, prints and everything. And the video, depending on the editor, a couple of weeks, maybe less. So hopefully we're talking about mid-November to late November.
Okay. Are still looking at this year.
Well, I do want to stick to this year, even though we do need to talk about the logistics of launching the campaign so close to Christmas. Whether that would be good for us or bad for us. Also, we need to keep into account the Chinese holidays that are coming up, which would hinder production. And then even after the campaign has been funded, we still need to wait until they come off their holidays to be able to start producing. But we're just talking about a month, more than that. But yeah, I do want to keep it this year. That is still unofficial, but hopefully we do have the perfect art that we want for the game, ready for launch this year.
Excellent. Well, Nick, is there anything else you want to throw in here before we wrap up? Because I think we've pretty much covered every single basis that we can on gravity warfare. I mean, we've gone from highbrow to lowbrow all in 1 hour-long stretch. So,
I mean, that's what people come to us for. They don't really come just to talk about their stuff. They just come to see how we can manipulate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
how bad can you guys screw it up?
No, thanks for having me. Again, if you listeners are interested in knowing more about the game, we're in our website is www.gravitywarfare.com or smartiguanagames.com. We also have accounts on, like I said, all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we have an article for, or we have the game in Board Game Geek. So if you want to read more about the game and you played it in one of our cons, to go in there, give us a comment or a rating, that would help us out greatly. But yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thank you for coming on. It has been a pleasure.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap up this episode of Skirmish Supremacy. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. To see more of the antics that Nick and I do, you can check us out on Facebook at Skirmish Supremacy. We also have Twitter, which we can be reached at Skirmish Supreme, because apparently Skirmish Supremacy does not fit in Twitter. And if you want to email us directly, you can reach us at tim@skirmishsupremacy.com or nick@skirmishsupremacy.com. Thanks for listening.